This is a paid advertisement on behalf of Algo Grande Copper. What's going on, guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital, and we're here with Enrico Gay, founder and CEO of Algo Grande Copper. Pleasure to have you on today, Enrico. How are you doing?
Thank you, Aaron. Good. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yes, it's awesome to see you as CEO. I've known you for many years, so let's start at the top. So can you walk us through Algo Grande Copper, the story, and what initially drew you personally to this opportunity? What was it about the Adelita Project that made you believe it had real potential?
Yeah, so I started the company in partnership with a geologist, an exploration geologist, worked for some of the majors like BHP, Explorer. We were looking for a project that it was going to be a discovery. It needed to be high grade copper, so north of 1%. And we looked at a lot of different projects before ultimately finding this one. It was brought to us by Peter McGaw, the ex-founder and head geologist for Mag Silver. This project just ticked all of our boxes. You know, it had 7,000 meters worth of drilling. It had really significant drill holes, like 75%, over 1% copper, really significant gold and silver credits. And ultimately we looked at the data. We thought it could get much larger if developed appropriately. And so we bought the project in 2025, and now we're moving forward. We're drilling, we're doing lighter detailed magnetic surveys to improve our drill targets. We already drilled the first phase, and now we're gonna move to phase 2.
Awesome. So investors just discovering this company, how would you describe the Adelita Project in Sonora? What makes this asset stand out in terms of geology scale and overall copper exposure compared to other early stage projects?
Yeah, so again, the Adelita project is anchored by a high grade copper, gold, silver skarn discovery, where you get some pretty significant intervals, as I mentioned before. The project the project is also anchored by the fact that we have a 6-kilometer limestone corridor, which is the host rock that where you will find potentially additional skarns. So you have a flagship skarn discovery that's well in motion, and we're building around it, and we're continuing to make it bigger. And then you potentially may have additional skarn discoveries along the 6-kilometer corridor. And then you also have porphyry potential at depth. The porphyry would have been the cause for the skarn mineralization to have formed in the limestone. So that's what makes the project exciting. It's a multi-deposit type of license. It's very large. It's 6,000 hectares. And like I said, we have a high-grade skarn discovery. Potentially additional skarns are going to be found along the 6-kilometer corridor. And then you have the porphyry potential at depth. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of juice. There's a lot of value that we can create with further exploration here.
So let's talk about copper now. So we're in a very interesting time for copper globally, tight supply, electrification trends, and long-term demand growth. So how does Algo Grande fit into that broader macro picture, and why is now the right time to be advancing Adelita?
Yeah, so the copper overall, like at a global scale, you see the copper supply demand imbalance starting to rear its head. That is one of the reasons why we got involved in copper exploration rather than silver or gold. We thought that copper as a commodity would have a long and sustained and more stable sort of bull market. Specifically within the region of Sonora and North America. So you have the Arizona-Sonora porphyry copper belt. This is where some of the largest copper open pit mines in the world are in northern Sonora. And within this context, we see these mines are aging. They're typically lower grade, so 0.4, 0.5%. So Adelita being a high-grade project within this extremely well-established copper district that's has these older mines that are processing lower grade ore. So having a high grade project like the skarn that we have at Adelita and potentially the additional discovery potential there, we think it positions the company in a very, 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 very good way.
So you've recently been advancing drilling and targeting high-grade mineralization at Adelita. Can you bring us up to speed on what's been achieved so far and what key milestones or data points investors should be watching for in the near term?
Yeah, so we acquired the project at the end of 2025, and pretty rapidly we're able to turn around and complete successfully a phase one drill program. Um, we drilled about 2,000 meters, and we drilled with orientated core, which is very important to point out that previously this project was not drilled with orientated core. This obviously makes it, well, impossible to understand the structure of the system. So that's a key point. We also decided to drill deeper than previous operators. And when we did that, we discovered additional high-grade skarn horizons, so additional high-grade copper zones. So previously, actually, there were 2 skarn horizons that were understood, and we discovered an additional 3 for a total of 5 high-grade pay zones. And so that I think investors should pay attention to, in the phase two drill program, they should pay attention to us being able to delineate and continue to find all of these high grade zones within the strike zone, but also pay attention to the fact that we found 3 kilometers away another skarn that outcrops for 300 meters. So this is starting to look like a multi skarn type of discovery, where we may have like a satellite of these high grade skarn zones. And I should mention that the rock samples taken from that skarn 3 kilometers away from Cerro Grande were coming up with 3% copper. So yeah, there's a lot of potential here.
Exciting times ahead. So looking ahead over the next 6 to 12 months, what are the most important catalysts, whether that's drill results, expansion potential, or strategic partnerships that you believe could materially move the needle for shareholders?
That's certainly the most important thing that's going to happen is the phase two drill program. We'll have 2 drill rigs working the project. One will be focused on expanding the Cerro Grande skarn high grade zone, and then the other drill rig will be focused along the 6 kilometer limestone corridor to identify additional skarns. So that's going to be roughly 8 to 10,000 meters. So there's going to be a lot of news flow, and potentially a lot of material news coming out. I would say also the continuing of understanding and refining around the porphyry potential of the license is something investors should pay attention to, because obviously if we were able to delineate a significant skarn system as well as the intrusion at depth, the feeder zone porphyry below the skarn, that would significantly change the scale of the project. And so, yeah, keep an eye out and read all our news releases, because it should get pretty exciting.
Definitely, Enrico. Well, it's an extremely exciting time for copper. Very proud of you for how far you came, and I'm very excited to be working with you. So we'll have you back on for more updates in the near future. Best of luck.
Thank you, man. Thank you.